Riding with my pistol on me. I've been stressing bad and I just don't know why.
Shout out to the homie Rome.
Hit the studio and let my soul. I need that one for the club.
Rome, you remember Rome Panther Records?
Yeah.
He hit me up. He got some
He told me.
a club or
He
something.
hit me up. Yeah. You get no free promo over here. Sorry. Cut that shit down. Yeah, I heard it. He told me. I ain't shit.
www. The number jamradio.com is going out this Friday. We're on our last 8 minutes of the show. We're pretty much gonna ramble and talk about a whole bunch of other different things. First off, we're gonna talk about this hurricane, Hurricane Ida. It hit right along the Louisiana, Mississippi coast.
I'm sick of her and her shit.
Man, all her shit.
Pray for the people in Louisiana. It's a lot going on.
And the people in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Man,
which is crazy because as much science as we have out here, as much predicting and all that stuff they do, you can't really tell what it's gonna do in the end. All you can do is really be ready because now it's so much water everywhere, even going all the way up into New Jersey, like she said. And it got to the point, the hurricane got to the point where it was pushing the Mississippi River, the water in the opposite direction, which is that's crazy in itself.
It is crazy.
So all y'all out there, be prepared. Get your water, get your flashlights, get your batteries, all that stuff from Houston
It's that time.
to New Jersey, pretty much. Just be safe out there.
Well, from what I hear, I have a friend that's out here, and I don't think they plan to be out here this long because they still got to pay for these hotels.
Yeah.
Oh,
know what
you
I'm
talking about
saying?
coming from Louisiana?
Yeah, I have one friend. She's like, I pretty much already paid rent. That's just 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, not only that, I know like some of her family members, their roof has been torn off and stuff like that. So you already spending money to just be here for safety. Then you gonna go back home to what? No job.
Yeah. I mean,
No home.
yeah, that's a tough situation, especially like if you had to travel away just to avoid what was going on. It's like even now you don't even know what's going on with your house.
Yeah.
Remember a couple like years ago, I think it was Katrina.
Yeah.
When that hit, you had people looting houses and the city basically got tore up in that time. So you really don't know what's going on then. I don't know if it came across the news yet, but it was a 911 operator who was hanging up on people.
I saw something about that on my feed.
Like even now, like with all that's going on and people need help, and you got your job, which is already rare during the pandemic, and then you hanging up on people who really need help.
Yeah.
Like you can't be one of
I heard
those
they were
people.
pressing charges on her.
Yes, they looking for her right now.
She
like
said I had enough.
She got
Stop calling here.
first, if you had
We
enough,
closed.
if you had enough, you can always quit your job.
Yeah.
Like especially when you're in a job like that,
But that's-
because
Walk out.
those are people's lives. Like
Yeah.
it's one thing if you're not gonna be there, and you're gonna quit. Understandable, go on about your business.
Right.
But if you're hanging up on people that need help, think about the repercussions of that. They really need help.
It's really interesting. I wonder if that's racial or if it is that she knew that nobody could get to them and didn't know what to say to them. Like I really would want to find out
Is
what
she
the
black?
reasoning was.
Yes,
She's black. Okay.
her name is
I mean,
Precious
that don't mean
Stevens.
she's not racist.
That don't mean she's not racist.
I mean, I don't think race should even play a part in
It shouldn't.
being a human, being humane.
It
Like
shouldn't.
if someone needs your help and you can help them, then help. It's not like she the one who jumping in the ambulance and driving on there over there. I gotta jump in the boat. All you gotta do is relay the message.
Correct.
Type in what you heard. By not doing this, how many people are suffering?
Correct.
Like you shouldn't do things where you're gonna make people suffer.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do something, do it to yourself. Allow yourself to suffer, but you shouldn't do it to other people, especially when you take on that position like that.
Absolutely.
Because you're in a position where you're supposed to be helping people.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if y'all know where she at, I mean, if I know where she was at, I would snitch on her just because.
I can't wait to hear what her excuse gonna be.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's interesting.
Well, her
Baby, why you do
coworkers
that?
told on her coworkers are the ones who. I mean, she was already people was already saying it, but her coworkers are the ones who reported it as well too.
But I want to know why, though. Like, I'm interested to know why. Like, did she really just snap? Because, you know, there's so many variations of losing your shit, so to speak, right? Like, why she just didn't get up and leave, and punch somebody out on the way out. If that's what you felt like, why would you take some calls and not? Or did she? Or was it just like a rollover where, you know, it's curious. I'm just curious to
If
find
it
out.
get to the point where your coworkers are recognizing that you hanging up on people, it's probably time for you to go home.
Absolutely.
When- like somebody knows
Ma'am.
you're stealing out the store, and you stealing, you probably should just go home.
Man,
It ain't your day. So
that's the
yeah,
second one.
that just sucks because you see what's going on in Louisiana, and for somebody in that position, it's already bad enough as is, and then to get hung up on, like,
Yeah.
I hate when my wife hang up on me and we having a normal conversation. Like, I'll call back like, hey baby, you ain't say bye. Hey baby, you ain't say you love me. So even if I'm calling, hey, I need help, I'm drowning, my house is going underwater, I need a boat, and you just hang up, like, come on, that's like,
harsh.
Yeah.
we gotta
And then
fight.
It's a gator out there too, y'all.
Yeah.
Now. It's
I
a
seen
gator
that.
out there eating folks.
For real.
No, for real.
I hadn't seen that, but
The gator said, I've been waiting since the
yeah.
train to get back up in here.
The water rose and the gator rose with it.
Yeah.
Is it just one, or he
It
got a
might
whole
be
family out
multiple.
here?
It'll be his whole family.
It might be.
They gon-
They
I guarantee
feasting.
that's like a Jaws movie with gators.
It's Crawl, actually. That's the name of the movie is Crawl. That's the name
Oh,
of it.
I hadn't seen it
It's
yet.
an actual
Yeah.
job.
I need to go watch that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I think they in Texas though, but it's exactly what happens is a gator gets caught up in her house, and she's trapped from some flood or hurricane.
But this gator ain't in people's house. He just kind of roaming around through the water that's too high.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't like it. I ain't pay too much attention. I said, "Oh, they eating people." Click.
Yeah.
What we
I'm gonna
talking about
have to
on
watch
this,
that. I'm gonna have to go watch that. I like watching stuff like that. But another thing, this past week we pulled out of Afghanistan. I'm gonna ask Miss Lovey first. How do you feel about that, real quick?
Lord Jesus.
How do you feel about us pulling out of? Are you cool with it? You against it? Just you ain't got to go into detail. For it or against it? I ain't gonna even ask you why. I just need to know for it or against it.
I'm gonna say against it,
Okay.
and I'll say why.
Okay.
So many people, too many people, have already lost their lives behind
Mm-hmm.
this whole process, this whole war, the whole Iraqi freedom, the whole enduring freedom. You talking about so many people?
Yeah.
So in life, and I'm not saying the two are the same, but there are some things we're gonna live through that we're not gonna live to see the end of. I feel like the Afghanistan, this war was one of those things people weren't gonna live to see the end, but their life should have served a purpose. And by pulling out, there is like, where do we go from here? You sent all these people over here for all these years. Of course, you quote unquote got Osama bin Laden, but even after that, people have still lost their lives. Even when we was pulling out a couple days ago, like 13 Marines lost their lives.
So, I don't think that people are talking about the reason why we pulled out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was the
Okay.
backstory? Because I actually didn't know this.
What is the reason? Trump made an agreement with the
Yes.
Taliban before he left office that we would be doing that. And if we didn't do it, then the amount of life
they would
lost
start attacking
would be
us.
So much more.
wow.
So
Okay.
that's what we need to be talking about in the news.
No, we need to be talking about why we were over there in the first place. It had nothing to do with Osama bin Laden.
It didn't.
What it was they have a whole lot of minerals, goods over there that we're trying to get to. Like if you go back to some of the other wars with the Soviet, the opium and all that stuff like that, and then you got all right now. Is if you pay attention to the news, it's like we're trying to cut a deal with Iran. We're quote unquote one of the most powerful countries in the world, right? But we trying to cut a nuclear deal with Iran because that's what all of it's at.
Now, it didn't used to be.
That's what we were getting the material to make it. This ain't stuff that we didn't just create nuclear bombs out of nothing.
Right.
We had to use something to make it. When they realized the stuff that was over there, then we started negotiating trades and stuff like that with countries like that. Now these countries are beginning to get out of control because they realizing like the United States is taking more than they giving. because they don't really. A lot of times you can have something, and this applies to everybody in the world. You have something in you that you don't know what it's worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it might be worth $1 million to somebody, but if you walking around with it every day, you'll never even know. That's
Yeah.
why you have all these stories. Well, man, my grandmother gave me this coin years ago. It was only worth 10 cents, and all of a sudden it's worth $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a people have to look at ourselves that way. It's something in us that's worth a lot of money to somebody else. So eventually we have to invest in ourselves, but we are starting to invest in other countries, trying to get what they got and take what they have to make ourselves more, which was happening with the opioids. Now we dealing with a whole pandemic over here because we can't handle something that we've got from somewhere else.
Oh, they did that on purpose, but that's a whole nother story.
Whole different
Yeah,
That's a whole
but-
other story.
But when the they did it on purpose stories
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like look at the coronavirus. They did it on purpose. It really just got out of control. When you got people who so focused on the money, they forget like if this is how the world was affected by the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
The world is, well, I would say the
Still.
whole world is being affected by this. They got a new variant too.
Right.
It's similar
But-
variants.
Still.
It's like you don't really realize how much greed is pushing our country and a couple of other countries down the to the bottom. Like if you look at us right now, we're trying to pass an infrastructure bill here in the United States. That's to repair roads, that's to do this. But if you look at the bill, it really ain't to really repair much, because if you really focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on, we wouldn't have to travel 8 hours if we working on the other side. Like if you go to China, they have everything like to the T. Now they run their country completely different. They don't have the freedoms like we have. But if you look at it, they can be working on another side of the country of China in the same day and be back home in the same day because they invested in the infrastructure. They got the train. They don't have as many potholes because they invested in the materials that they're using.
And
But
they
if you
taxing
drive
the hell
down,
out of their people.
they taxing them, but you have to have what you want. You're gonna have to tax people, or you're gonna have to go out and get it yourself. And the only way you can go out there and get it yourself is to go to war because somebody else got it.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, you rely on your own people to build up. So now if you ride down 45, how many potholes you gonna hit?
Lord God,
Just
Jesus.
going. If you go to drive to downtown, which is about 10 minutes away, you're gonna probably need a whole new alignment on your car if you stay in the same lane. So why aren't we investing in ourselves? We took the last 20 years, we took all this money to Afghanistan for wars, this and that. A lot of people got rich off of it. A lot of people got rich off of it, but who's suffering? We as a people are suffering because we're the ones going out there and fighting the wars. If we go to the Army, go to the Marines, go to the Navy, we're the ones going out there. Yeah, we getting a check every month, but
So, was your stance to pull out? Were
my
you for it or against it?
I'm more of it's. I'm kind of both. It just depends. Like if you're pulling out because the deal was already set, and Biden was in a position where he didn't have a choice. So I'm
Yeah.
for him pulling out. Now the deal that Trump cut, I'm not for pulling out at that point. But at this point, we're so far down the line, it's
Don't
too
even
late to
matter
be
no
like,
more.
I'm
Yeah,
against it
yeah.
because I can't be against it. I have to ride with it and hope that we get everybody out that want to get out.
Right.
My thing is, as we're pulling out, what are we leaving? Because you go back and you look, they taking pictures with U.S. helicopters.
Yeah.
So
We left everything.
we arming them.
Yeah.
So
That was
the whole helicopters, they taking pictures. They was cheering when we
Hey,
left.
why they
The Taliban said, "Get out, or we finna start killing
Yeah.
folks. Not necessarily even just y'all. They finna start killing people." And they
Mm.
still went door to door and was snatching women
Yep.
and little girls. Still,
their own
So
people?
so
yes.
no. It was to an extent their own people, but you got to look at what happened years prior. Remember, I know at some point on the news it was Trump cut a deal and they released a lot of prisoners. It was probably about 5,000 prisoners. And where do you send 5,000 prisoners when you let them out? You don't send them nowhere. You just let them go.
You just
But
open the door.
if you apprehended them because they was a part of this group and they was doing terroristic stuff, and then you let them go and you ain't monitoring them because they ain't got ankle monitors and stuff over there. They just went right back to where they was at. Now they hate us even more. They hated us before they did what they did. They got caught. They've been in prison under the worst conditions because them prisons ain't like our prisons over here. So they basically put them in the worst conditions, and then you cut a deal with them and free them. So they like, man, these last 2 or 3 years I've been going through all this bullshit. They ain't coming out of jail talking about, all right, we forgive y'all. It's more rage at this point because they feel like what they're doing is right. The cause they're fighting for is what they've been taught. In their heads, they're right.
The Taliban is really a terrorist group. Like, it's a domestic terrorist group that affects international
entire
people,
world.
right? So they're like the Klan, but on times 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Klan was religious and they said, okay, well, we are white is right and we gonna make sure white is right, and they would go around and go get mixed kids and pull them out into the street. That's what the Taliban is.
Yeah.
Based off of their religion, they're going and pulling girls who are not dressed the way they feel like women should dress, or they're not, that type of stuff.
But that's their rule book. That are their guidelines. So when you're over there, like, we have a whole bunch of freedoms over here that a lot of people really don't realize they have.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to do. I can do it. We'll go over there to Afghanistan and be your free person.
Okay.
You gonna wrap that head up. You gonna act accordingly. You ain't gonna be out here. You ain't gonna be out here. But we quote unquote, I'm me. I'm gonna do me. You ain't finna go over there and do me.
No,
So
I don't need acid in my face. I'm
but
good.
but even with that, like, look, if you go back, maybe just go back to the beginning of Trump's presidency. He did a lot of stuff that was good. He also did a lot of stuff not so good. But the things that he did that were not so good are affecting us to this day. Like, cause you made a deal with him that we was gonna be out.
Yeah.
I think if Trump was in the White House, y'all think we would have been out by May 1st, the original deadline, if he was still in the White House? It wasn't no way to get all them people out by May 1st.
He would have talked his way back out of it, or he would have.
He would have gave him. He would have gave him something
Mm-hmm.
else. So it's like Biden did the right thing because the only choice you had is to pull them out or give them lives. And whose lives are you gonna give them? You can't really. He over there in the White House. It ain't like they coming for him. They gonna start picking people off, blowing up. What if they blew up the airport? Now ain't nobody leaving.
But they did try. They did some stuff at the airport.
And you know what's crazy about the airport? If you just study the way they have things set up over there, even to get there, there are certain roads that you have to take to get there. Along these roads, they have checkpoints. It's not just that you get to, like, you can just pull up to the airport here and you get checked at the TSA. There, you're getting checked on roads as you're going. You know how many checkpoints the people had to pass just to get to the airport to try to do an attack on the airport? I don't know how many, but it's multiple checkpoints. So that's telling you, for them to get that far, they still got people on the inside. And it's crazy because we're pulling people out and bringing them to America right now. But you haven't vetted any of these people. You don't know where their loyalty lies. You thought it was with us, but how many of them got past the checkpoints to attack the airport? But we taking some of them back and bringing them over here. Now they're on the inside of our country. So I feel like if you're going to be bringing people over here, there's got to be some kind of process, right?
Gotta be.
It's already a process for bringing people over. Now, it don't matter whether or not they came over on the Afghani planes or not. If our borders are loose at the end of the day, it takes them nothing, especially now during this hurricane season, right? To come on through to Cuba, catch you a little old boat that's gonna get you all the way up and through New Orleans and get evacuated like everybody else.
And while we
Don't be setting them up with the plan.
They already got the plan.
Look at a map. It's easy.
They already got the plan. They done figured it out. While we talking about that, pray for Haiti. It's a lot going on in Haiti. It's like I took a break from social media a couple days just because I wanted myself to fast, just to kind of clear my head and get, I'm taking on a new job. Shout out to Lovey.
Shout out.
She put me in a position. She put me in a position where I'm gonna be doing something else big. It ain't a secret. it ain't a secret, but it'll be out soon.
Stay down for the
So
come up.
I wanted to just take myself away from everything that was going on social media wise and just kind of hit a reset button.
Yeah.
So and while I did that, I was just sitting back like we flying people out of Afghanistan, but we ain't flying people out of Haiti.
Man, you don't understand Haiti and America's war.
We
They
can,
don't care nothing about Haiti. Baby,
they
Haiti can burn
they,
over and
they,
flip over twice
they
before
shouldn't
America go
care.
down
You
there.
know who should care about Haiti?
We should.
The black people.
But you know what? Little baby and what's the little boy? It's another new little rapper. They building a hospital out there. So we are.
Yes, I seen that. They
We
even
are.
asking
We
other
getting it
celebrities
together.
to put in for it.
We getting it together.
At one point, do
Mhm.
you put in all your money and say, "Hey,
I
Oh,
mean,
nobody do that.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm gonna go. I'm
It-
gonna go.
it ain't worth all your money.
Not all my
the,
money, but
the
you got
car,
some.
I'm
we
not
talking
gonna
about the
say-
cars. Is it worth half of your money?
We'll see.
But here's the thing about that. So when you start infusing dollars into a system, into an economy, that the dollar is like millions.
Yeah, it's
like
bigger than that.
you're creating havoc
Yeah.
in that economy because there's no way that they're going to be able to maintain
Yeah, the
that
status.
level of
Keep
economy.
up with it.
So
Ooh.
it's great that you can go in here and build a hospital. That's great, man. Please pay for the equipment. But I don't know how y'all gonna maintain
How
this
you gonna
thing
pay the
going
staff?
forward.
It's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
I
So
see
I
what
mean,
you're
the
saying.
equipment cost to repair it is still gonna be
Gonna
the
have to buy
equipment cost.
gonna have to buy new ambulances because you can't just have no raggedy school bus ambulance
Well,
pulling
you're gonna
up.
have to figure it out how you get it in Haiti is what I'm saying. So you get all this high tech equipment and all this stuff. It's still gonna need to be repaired at some point. It might need to be replaced at some point, and it's still gonna cost dollars.
You're gonna have to teach people how to do it. Education. You're gonna have to pay. Like it's
Yeah. It's
so
more to it
so
than just spending all your money there, though.
so you can do the
But it's stimulating the economy there too at the same time
It
by
is.
creating jobs and
Yes.
other businesses that'll come out and start to support the hospital and the people that they are there, whether it be food or supplies in the area. So I mean, it has the opportunity to stimulate their economy and
Yeah.
actually,
But I feel
do
when you
good
do
as well.
stuff like that, you have to realize like this is that's a lifetime project.
Yeah.
It's not something where you could just send $1 million and fall back and
Yeah.
let them do whatever, or send $10 million and just fall back.
Right.
Like you have to keep your hands on it because that's one of those projects that you won't live to see the end of.
Yeah.
Like you had people building a Hoover Dam years ago, but if they tell you, hey, this dam ain't gonna be done for another 200 years, are you willing to start it and not be able to see the end?
I mean, I'm gonna
Not
pass
for the
on that.
dam, but
You're right.
not for the dam.
I mean, if you,
But for the hospital, yes.
but if you live under the dam and you got generations coming after you, then you're willing to die for it
I
because
feel
you
like we
realize.
can move.
So you,
I feel like we can live somewhere.
everybody can't move.
Hey,
Some people live off the land. They live up in the mountains. I mean, it's like telling people in California when it's catching on fire every year, hey, y'all just move.
they need to, because at this point you're throwing millions of dollars away to rebuild year after year, or going through the stress of wondering if your stuff is gonna burn down. Hey, I know living by the beach is nice.
Okay.
Get you somewhere safe, bro.
So throwing away millions of dollars. That's what we do as a nation. We threw
Not
away.
your personal dollars.
We threw away. Eventually, it's our.
Not
It's,
what I
our
work
it's our. It's really our money that's paying for that war. Like so, even on top of that, we pulled out of Afghanistan. We still responsible for fixing so much stuff. We still responsible for paying so many families.
You know what? I think they pulled out the same way India pulled out. I'm sorry, Britain pulled out of India back in the 40s, right?
Just left
Come
it
on,
as
girl,
is.
what's this?
Yeah. So I don't know, if we know this, but the reason why Pakistan is even a country is because before Britain came and they claimed India, and they came in and they split all this stuff up, and you had three major religions, right? You had the Hindu, you had the Muslims, and then you had the Sikhs, right? And so the majority of people were either Muslim or Hindu. And so when World War II started to happen, and Britain thought, okay, well, we finna get into this war, they pulled all of their efforts, just like we just did, out of India and left them to figure it out. And so they created Pakistan and made that for the Muslims.
Move to.
and then to move to, and then the Hindus to stay in the major part of what is now what we now know of India, but they did not give land to the Sikhs. And so the Sikhs, much like the Taliban, just started killing folks.
Mhm.
They were sending trains of dead bodies into port. Like they would hijack the train because, like,
First off, but even with that,
yeah,
what if I was in their position and you gave them something, and you didn't give me nothing, I would be upset too.
not, but you can't. It was crazy.
I'm gonna go off too. Like
yeah,
it
but just the amount of death and the amount of the lack of planning. It's the same thing we are doing.
Yes.
So years from now, when history is written about this time period, they're going to say that America did the same thing to, the Middle East. That
But I think America is still gonna continue to pour money into those countries just because we're so focused on what's there and trying to get more of what's there that we're willing to do whatever it takes to continue to get more from them. So you got the Trumps cutting deals with the Taliban. You got them cutting deals. Like he cut a deal with the Taliban, and the Afghanistani government wasn't even there. You cutting a deal with this entire country with the bad people.
Meanwhile, the Taliban is meeting with China regularly.
Exactly, they homies. But then when
we
you
ain't talking about that though.
People not gonna talk about
we
that
talking about
because
Kanye West and Kim breaking up. That's what we talking. They breaking up.
Because when you start talking about all these countries linking up, and by the way, Russia was over there in Afghanistan, and Russia pulled out because that was a war that you couldn't win.
Yeah.
So
and
us even
Russia
going over
left, baby, what are we doing?
that's a forever war.
Yeah.
Like, so when they call it forever wars, it's partially because it's gonna last forever, and we're gonna be paying for it for a long time. So even though we pulled out, we're gonna be paying for this war a long time. So even saying that Russia poured out, we know we shouldn't even be running over there to fight that. But I feel like it's gonna hurt us in the long run because of how we did it, how quick it was. We wasn't prepared when we left. Because if we was prepared, we would have left.
I wouldn't have left. They wouldn't have left so much stuff.
Even when you said
would have left before they due date.
When you left August, when you said, "Hey, we're gonna be out of here by August 31st." When you make a statement like that, the first thing you should do is start counting your assets. Well, what do we have over here? What do we got to get out of here?
You don't think they did that? They decided that whatever they left was
they was cool. And it's not. It might have been okay to leave. Like I understand. Like all the parts might not even have been on the helicopter. They can find the parts and put it together. They got people that's gonna do that. My thing is,
I don't understand why you wouldn't put people in the helicopter.
And that's planning, right? But then on top of that, it's still, I feel like this is one of those forever wars. Even though we pulled out, the Taliban ain't saying, "All right, y'all, well, it's cool now. Y'all go on about y'all way." We went on about our way, but do y'all think they cool with it?
No, clearly not.
So that's why I feel like this was poorly planned all the way around. Even from when you cut the deal and let all the prisoners out, you agreed to be out by May 1st, thinking you were still gonna be the president because this was a surprise to Trump. So there were a lot of deals cut probably all around the world, but you expected to be out. You wasn't out by this time. You gave him a new date. So from May 1st, the original
they were supposed to be out
May 1st to August 31st, when did you start flying people out? Because you was getting 9,000 people out a day, and you didn't get everybody out.
How many did they say they had to get out?
Everybody.
Do we know around about what the number was?
There are still Americans on the ground right now. You have private contractors in those other countries who are charging people $6,500 to get on their plane and fly out. Is that person wrong? They're private.
Come up.
I mean, that's a lick right there.
His personal contractor job is over.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, the reason they don't talk about the deals with the Taliban, China, the Russia, because when you start getting into that, you start getting biblical. If you go look at the prophecies and all that, it talks about how China is going to link up with Russia and they're going to try to do this and Antichrist and all this. All that's Daniel prophecy all the way to Revelation. All that's in there. So when you start talking about that, you start talking about the prophecies and it's coming true, then you start forcing people to get in line because if this is coming true in the Bible, well, why are we not following the Bible? So that's a whole nother argument right there. But I appreciate you ladies for coming through. It's good to see Queen tomorrow, blessing us once again with her presence. I don't know when she gonna be back, but y'all soak up while she here.
Yes.
We got Miss Cindy. Behold, the goddess.
Yes,
She's
Miss
in the
Sydney got, she knows the history.
Yes, she definitely does, and hopefully she's a regular here. She's come multiple times, so we're gonna have to tie her up in the back so she can't keep running off on us.
Just tie my hands in the front.
Shout out to Miss Lovey. She's on the ones and twos holding it down. I got my brother in the building as well, making sure I do what I'm supposed to do correctly. Roy on his phone. But once again, thank y'all for tuning in. Real Rillos. We'll be back next week with another artist and another topic, and we'll expound a little more. I'll learn a little bit more about what's going on here in the United States. Real Rillos, www.lovethenumber2.com. We out.